What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Critical Overlord here. This will be a spoiler-free review for Wolfman, which is directed by Leigh Whannell, who also co-wrote it with Corbett Tuck. It is starring Christopher Abbott, Julia Garner, and Matilda Firth. There's other people, but these are the only people that are important. This is revolving around family man Blake, who relocates from San Francisco to Oregon with his workaholic wife Charlotte and daughter Ginger after inheriting his childhood home, left vacant following his estranged father's mysterious disappearance and presumed death. At the farmhouse at night, during a full moon, the family is attacked by a werewolf that claws Blake's arm. They barricade themselves inside the home, but soon Blake begins to transform into something horrifying, jeopardizing the safety of his wife and daughter. Now, Leigh Whannell's Wolfman is giving the horror genre a promising start in this new year. It's a film crammed with enough heart, comedy at times, and scares to remind us all why he's a great candidate when it comes to his takes on the classic Universal monsters. Wolfman's greatest sin, and the setbacks that I'm sure many people will agree with upon seeing it, is coming down to a few things that are easily forgivable. One, it's too straightforward, it's predictable, and it doesn't leave me with enough to chew on afterward. But Whannell still delivered a solid horror film to kick off the new year. And I will say, this is like my first screening I've been to since Smile 2. I've been skipping so many of these screenings, so it was nice to come back to this with a solid start to the new year. This film again is set 30 years after Blake's rough childhood with his overbearing father, who just had his best interest in mind at the end of the day. Blake himself is now a father, lives in the city, he's a husband, and he carries the trauma inflicted on him by his father. I will say that for a film about generational trauma, it didn't get too profound, which worked at times, but also not completely. Also goes back to my comment about it not leaving you enough to chew on at the end. There's not a lot dug into underneath the surface. It's kept very surface level. Anyway, Blake's marriage with his wife Charlotte is being derailed by their arguing, which has been noticed by their daughter Ginger, who prefers Blake over Charlotte. Whannell spends time letting us experience these dynamics, both lovable and tense, creating reason for us to root for this family, want to see them overcome the setbacks they're having, wanting to see more of this very cute relationship between father and daughter. Ginger and Blake have a relationship any parent would hope to have with a child, and it's clear he's making up for his own inner child, who likely longed to have this kind of relationship with his father. It's just unfortunate that all there is to Charlotte is that she's a journalist who works too much and wishes she could have time for Ginger. I guess I could look at it like this. Charlotte's arc is, how can I prove that I'm a good mom to my daughter since I'm losing faith in that? Which that arc is fulfilled by the end of this film. That sounds a lot better. But she is pretty thin despite being highly likable due to Julia Garner's magnificent performance. In terms of scares, Wolfman mostly relies on our curiosity towards the unknown threat, unsettling sounds, grotesque body horror, and how scary losing a loved one actually can be. If there were jump scares, I can't recall many of them because they were probably earned, and Wolfman isn't slapping you across the face with them every 30 seconds or so like a lot of horror movies do. Instead, we're put through a slow shift from man to monster that always managed to keep me squirming, as I'm sure it will many of you. Sometimes the dialogue is rough, but most of the exchanges are believable and help keep that father-daughter dynamic realistic while also capturing the rift between husband and wife. Treating it like a disease, what's happening to Blake, I thought was a brilliant choice. It can unlock some unfortunate memories for viewers who have experienced someone close to them slowly wither away into nothing, become a shell of their former selves. That alone is terrifying, and the writers exploited that harsh reality very well, captured it on screen by telling a story about a father being ripped away from the two people that mean the most to him, and it's clearly obvious that he always wanted to have a family dynamic like this, and it's slowly being ripped away from him. As I pointed out, Wolfman is quite straightforward, but its strengths don't make this a major issue. However, certain narrative revelations that want to be shocking definitely do fall flat, because it's like, well, duh. And you'll see what I mean. You'll see exactly what I mean. It doesn't happen over and over, so it never became insulting. So it has a solid screenplay going for it. Whannell's direction here is incredible. I think that's really what he leaned on to kind of make up for the shortcomings in the screenplay, is the direction of it all. which comes as no shock to me and probably many of you. There's moments in the film where we're bouncing back and forth between Charlotte and Ginger's POV compared to Blake's, and it makes it easier to relate to Blake's decline because we're constantly being placed in his shoes. Even some of the camera tricks are guilty of this as well. One scene midway through features the camera tilting or rocking, if you will, as Blake seemingly is losing his bearings or his direction. So I'm as disoriented as he is now thanks to the camera work. Little things like that just heighten the experience, and Winnell understands that. Basically, we as the viewer are the wolf man just as much as Blake is, and that was great. He's not overexposing the monster design early on. We're mostly given out of focus shots, long shots that make the setting more tense but make us curious to see the full design. We're seeing it through reflections, off-screen things, sounds, really unnerving, menacing sound design featured throughout the film. The cinematography was gorgeous, as I've started gushing over with my comments about the camera work previously, but there's a lot of color separation throughout this movie too. Many scenes drenched in a blue tint to heighten the isolated feeling we're getting on this farm location. When the transformation happens, we get close-ups of nails breaking, flesh peeling, and everything in between. So on a technical level, this movie is phenomenal, I would say. Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner and Matilda Firth, their chemistry, out of this world. I think they captured the dynamics of husband and wife with tension, but trying to stay happy-go-lucky, keep that image up to a daughter who's almost just as likable as they are, even though they're going through a rough patch in their life. So you could argue at times it might seem that Garner and Abbott don't have chemistry, but given what they were going for, that there's supposed to be a riff, I think it worked, and they did have great chemistry. Because when there was supposed to be a riff, I was buying that, and then when they wanted to be lovable or lovey-dovey with one another, I was eating that up too. The chemistry with Matilda, though, that both of them had, I thought was great. More so Abbott. There are times where I thought Garner maybe wasn't playing up the mother role as much as I would have liked her to. But Garner does make up for that by being quite good at selling the severity of the situation that Charlotte and Ginger will find themselves in when it comes to facing off against Blake. In terms of overall pacing, I thought the movie was fine. Certain things could have gone on a little bit longer than others, such as when they finally want to really sink us into the tension of it all and the terror of it all. The movie just kind of ends. And it's like, well, where's the rest of the movie? But I'm going to have to give Wolfman a solid 7.5 out of 10. So you guys let me know what you think about this down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, of course, make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications, you never miss a video. In the description, I'll have links on my social media accounts. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can message me there to let me know any movies, news, or reviews you'd like me to cover in the future. And with all that in mind, guys, I will see you in the next video.